Capital Record, where we defend free enterprise and capital markets because we believe in the dignity of the human person. Hello and welcome to David Bonson's Capital Record, brought to you by National Review. And we are today going to talk about something that no one has ever talked about before, and that is the horrible impact that excessive screen time is having on our people. Of course, this topic is talked about more than almost anything, so I am being facetious, but I actually do have something different that I want to say. The reality is that this is not new, and it's easy for us to think of what is happening with screen time damaging productivity, damaging a lot of other elements of society as something new. The television came a long time before social media, before the particular video game phenomena that we are having now. Even the video game phenomena now had predated, episodes or eras or phases as well. I would argue that what is different in my comments right now is, first of all, somewhat unimportantly, that the particular manifestation of screen time because of phones, because of social media, and because of video games is itself a more advanced manifestation of something that has been going on since the era of television. That all of this is a byproduct of technological advancement, but not a brand new phenomena. And that in fact, television was where we first began to see the impact of screen watching get in the way of certain other activities. However, people can have various opinions about how much TV folks should and should not watch, how much streaming, how much videos, how much scrolling, how much video games, all of these technological things and entertainment vehicles, recreational vehicles, there are so many people that talk about it so intelligently. It's not the subject of the podcast. It's that, and when I say some people talk about more intelligently, I'll call out certain people by name. I think that in particular, Jonathan Haidt's work in this has been phenomenal as it pertains to the antisocial consequences with teenagers. And I think even he is really leaning into the very modern and very current tense scenario by which the social media access, telephones, and that kind of dopamine reality of what has happened has become particularly consequential. I don't disagree with any of it. And I don't, by pointing out that excessive TV use started in the mid-1960s, I also don't mean to suggest that it has not gotten much worse and that the impact is much different, because I do believe that. I'm merely pointing out that the initial issue existed in a less mature form many, many decades ago, and then has simply evolved and gotten worse over time. But what I would suggest to you is that we are dealing with this being talked about as a antisocial thing leading to depression or alienation or isolation or all those kinds of things. And I'm not sure that we are talking about it enough in the context of what it is not leading to, which is this increased labor productivity. This, to me, is a fascinating element of a missed conversation. I read a piece lately highlighted, many of you be familiar with Robert Putnam, the Harvard scholar who wrote the book Bowling Alone. And again, it was dealing, you could probably tell from the title, about the death of community. And that's because our podcast exists to defend this concept of human flourishing. And I believe vital and robust and healthy communities are a part of the social nature of mankind and a part of a fully healthy society. That is in our lane. That is important. But I'm actually tying this into something, again, different than what many others are, because like Putnam and like Haidt and like many others, the social consequences and the emotional health impact that excessive screen use has led to has been covered by people much smarter than I. Now, Putnam pointed out that from 1965 to 1995, so you'll obviously note that this is well before the advent of any iPhones or iPads or social media apps whatsoever, that the average American adult average from 1965 to 1995 gained 6 extra hours of leisure time per week. Okay, so you are talking about 300 hours per year over a 30-year period that the average adult picked up in extra time. And I believe that that extra time was filled with television for a long time for a lot of people, and obviously not everyone, and obviously not 100% of it, but a lot. And then as we have technologically advanced and progressed, there has been more replacement with some of the aforementioned things, from video game to now today, the scrolling and whatnot. And I would like to suggest that we can bemoan the isolation this has caused, because it is awful. The solitude it has fed. I also believe that when you start getting into, unlike the television era, that the current algorithmic era, particularly with social and video, has made us meaner as a society. I would argue that probably all of the above, video games, television, streaming, social, has made us dumber. I do not think this is feeding our best selves in terms of intellectual curiosity. But from isolation to solitude to meanness to, shall we say, IQ, it is not enough to point out what we have done to fill this free time as causative. We have to also note what we did not do, which was enhance productivity. And I am, of course, as I've long suggested and wrote a book about it, I am a big advocate of the concept that work is the creative purpose of our life. I believe that with every ounce of breath in my body, and have spoken about it on this podcast, given hundreds of speeches and interviews and all those kind of things to that effect. But what I would suggest to you is that when we are not leaning in to additional advancement of productivity and these types of things that stimulate our minds, but also generate the self-worth that is worthy, meaning it's not self-worth because we talk ourselves into feeling better about ourselves. It's self-worth because we did something, we produced. Not only is there an economic impact and that opportunity cost, but that essentially it feeds the dragon of what others are worried about, with isolation and depression and mental health, and then the more particularly unhealthy things that can come about it in the way that we treat one another, and this sort of self-reinforcing algorithmic dysfunction. What I will believe we have to do is learn to advocate for more work and more skill development, more ideation, more productive contribution to society, that then allows us less solitude, less isolation, less anger at your fellow countrymen whom you have to share society with, less polarization, less screen time. And I think that the most intense benefit would not merely be what we are able to decrease, but what we're able to increase. We decrease all these unhealthy things, but we increase the very, very healthy elements of not only deserved self-worth, or what Arthur Brooks referred to as earned success, but we also generate the economic productivity that comes with building and doing new things. Less dumbing down of our intellect, and less, to again kind of quote another from that era of sociologists and philosophers of the last 50 to 100 years. But when Neil Postman referred to us amusing ourselves to death, I think he was right. But I believe what we're missing is the option that is right there on the table for us to work ourselves to life. This is the suggestion I would make for how we create the antidotes necessary to the unhealthy behaviors of the day full time. Thank you for listening to David Bonson's Capital Record.